What's up everyone, John Rettinger from Techno Buffalo with a full review for you of the latest flagship from Samsung. This is the brand new Galaxy S5. It's got a lot of weight on its lofty shoulders, carrying the pressure of the success of the Galaxy S4, the 3, and the ones that came before it. Let's go ahead and see if it lives up to the Galaxy S heritage. It deserves a spot in your pocket. So as I do with all my phone reviews, let me begin with a disclaimer. I used this for 8 days, 2 days with the international version and 6 days with the AT&T variant. If you want to get more information on anything that we're talking about or see galleries, Todd Hazelton did a full written review. Hit the link down below to go into more detail with what I'm talking about here. This review is going to be broken down into 7 parts. If you want to jump into any particular part, I hit the link to the side and go right to it. We're talking about call quality, hardware, software, new sensors that are in it, camera, battery, and then finally the conclusion and an ultimate score. But before we get there, let's talk about call quality. Since that is most important, it is a phone. After all, it doesn't matter what else it can do. Call quality was absolutely awesome. I seem like a broken record now with modern phones, but they all sound really, really good. Again, tested on AT&T in Southern California, so your experience might vary. But call quality was crisp, no popping noise, I had no drop calls, and also the speaker was really, really loud on it. So if you rely on speakerphone a lot like I do, you will be very well served with the Galaxy S5. All right, let's get to the meat of the review, and that's really the hardware. So by just glancing at the phone, it looks pretty similar to a Galaxy S4. Samsung clearly gave this the S treatment, if I can borrow from Apple's roadmap. These types of iterations tend to improve on the previous year's model internally without making really the huge dollar commitment necessary for R&D for total complete redesign. That's usually reserved for every other year. Looking at the phone though, it's still unmistakably Samsung. From the shape of the device to the shape of the home button, capacitive buttons. If you're phone nerds and you pick this phone up blindfolded, you would know right away who made it. But that's not necessarily a bad thing either. Sammy is clearly doing something right. They're selling phones about as fast as they can make them. The big design changes though come from the back of the device. We now have a soft touch dimpled rubber back, sort of resembling a bit of a Band-Aid, IP67 water resistance, making this also serve as kind of an active device that Samsung's had in the past. We'll see if they've actually released a full active device, but definitely works in the water, and I wouldn't necessarily take it in the pool with you, but if you drop it in water, take it to the beach, you're going to be absolutely fine. Samsung did up the screen size though to 5.1 inches this year, and the 1920 by 1080p screen is colorful and crisp. It's Super AMOLED display, which is usually kind of struggles in direct sunlight, although it actually looked really, really good in my tests. So I've tested a ton of phones, pretty much every phone that's come out over the past 4 years, and a lot of phones obviously have a lot of screens. This one I can safely say is the best screen I have ever tested. Samsung has a reputation for screens and displays, and it's on full display here, so to speak. There is no color tinting at all if you had experiences with that with other Samsung devices. It is absolutely stunning. Everything looks great on it, from images to text, videos, games. It all looks really just amazing. Samsung hit the screen right out of the park. The back cover is flimsy plastic, the same as it's always been, but it's got a nice soft touch feel to it. We've tested a white Model 2, and it kind of dug the pearly white finish on it. Under the hood though, there's a 2800 mAh battery, a Snapdragon 801 processor, 2 gigs of RAM, 16 gigs of storage, or 32 depending which one you get, and a slot for adding storage up to 128 gigs. So I've said it before and I'll say it again, I usually like higher quality materials, but I get the plastic with the S5 since it does add water resistance, which you can't really do with metal. If you've given Samsung crap in the past for the use of plastic, like I have, I can actually forgive it here. I think it actually makes a bit of sense. So that argument, at least for the S5, I think doesn't stand. Let's talk about software. Samsung really, since the Galaxy S3, has taken the software approach to just throw everything at you and hope that you like a few of the tweaks. In reality though, you'll probably appreciate some of the tinkering they've done and completely ignore the rest. The Galaxy S5 runs Android 4.4.2 KitKat right out of the box and also includes Samsung's new iteration of TouchWiz or Nature UX. It's just as colorful and intrusive as it's always been, but it's cleaned up in a lot of ways too. The top quick navigation bar is flatter and a lot easier on the eyes. It also is much quicker in general, but that also might be the Snapdragon 801 under the hood. Also here though is all the bleep, bloop, nature dropping noise every time you touch the screen. If you're like me, you're going to quickly want to turn those off. So I really like that the S5 supports audio commands anytime the screen is on and the Google search bar is nearby, so I can always say, okay Google, and ask the weather without tapping the icon, for example. It's not as good as the always-on Moto X, but it's a really big improvement over the HTC One that doesn't really offer that feature at all. If you swipe to the far left of the display, you'll enter Samsung's My Magazine interface, which is basically just like Flipboard and a seeming pretty close copycat, at least influenced by HTC's Blink feed news interface. In general, Todd and I agree that we're tired of TouchWiz, even if Samsung does clean it up just a little bit. It's time for this company to try something new, hopefully with just fewer colors. Next, let's talk about new sensors. Samsung added a fingerprint scanner to its home button. The idea is that you can use your finger to unlock the phone and purchase items. Samsung is hooked up with PayPal to make that happen. It's an idea we've seen before, but it's really not that well executed here. So the sensor doesn't work all that well at all. I found myself just turning it off completely after 4 days of frustration. I do like that it's open, but if it doesn't work or if it becomes more trouble than it's worth, then what's the point? The other new sensor is a heart rate monitor. It's essentially just software takes advantage of the camera and LED flash to tell you your heart rate. It works while you're sitting still, but when would you probably need a heart monitor? Probably not when you're sitting at your desk or your table. You probably want to check it out when you're out on a run or in a bit of motion, and in those conditions, it doesn't work at all. In fact, it tells you to stand still. Also, there are apps for iOS and Android that accomplish exactly the same thing for other devices, so really not much of a selling point here at all. But if you're sitting still, it will work. Let's jump into camera next. The new 16-megapixel sensor is pretty awesome and arguably one of the best cameras out there. Todd has a huge gallery of images. Head on over to the review to see those. The link will be down below. The shutter speed here is crazy fast. It also records 4K videos. The pictures look bright and crisp. Really well done, Samsung. I've been hard on Samsung in the past for cameras, and they nailed this one. Pictures look great. 4K video looks gorgeous. Probably one of the better camera phones out there on the market. So you want to make sure that your phone can last throughout the day. Let's talk a bit about battery. It is a 2800 milliamp job. It's got a really solid battery life. End of the day, I have about 35% left. So my general usage, take it off the charger around 7:30 in the morning. It's usually connected to Wi-Fi at home or the office. I've got 2 accounts being pulled down every 5 minutes, a lot of social networking going on. Obviously a lot of videos that are being watched, and just a ton of phone calls on it. I use it as my primary device. And 35% is actually really, really good. Like the HTC One M8, it also has its own ultra power savings mode that gives you incredible standby time when the power runs pretty low. With this mode activated, your screen will turn into a kind of a grayscale mode, and all you have access to are basic apps like your phone, text messages, calculator, and manually pulling email and sort of a web browser, among some others. The idea here, though, is in this mode, your phone will last way longer without things running in the background. When our device got down to 15% battery, we turned on ultra power saving mode and estimated we could leave the device powered on for another 4.5 days, which is really awesome. Although it takes a long time to turn it on, it takes about 30 seconds for it to turn on. But if you're desperate to save some juice, it's probably worth that wait. So what's the conclusion here? The Galaxy S5, on its own, it's a really good phone, but it's not a great one. TouchWiz gets in its own way, and the new sensors are debatably valuable. The screen is absolutely gorgeous, and the camera is awesome. If that's what's important to you, you're really going to dig this device. So I think the phone is really competing against the Galaxy S4, in addition to the current flagships. Like the iPhone 5S, if you own the last generation, it's really hard for me to recommend an upgrade here. And I probably wait a year to look forward to see what the S6 is going to be. If you do jump in, though, I think you'll be really happy. This phone gets a very solid 8 on the Techno Buffalo scale. What do you guys think? Is the Galaxy S5 your next phone? Are you going to wait for the S6 or maybe see what Apple has to offer? Are you going to jump over to the HTC One or wait to see what Nokia has got next? I want to hear your thoughts. Please leave it in the comments right down below. Until next time, I'm John Redinger from Techno Buffalo. I'll see you guys next video. Bye-bye. What's up, everyone? Thank you for watching that video. If you want to see more of the latest and greatest tech news, you can subscribe to our main Techno Buffalo channel by clicking the button right down below in my pants region, or click on the buttons to your right to see more videos.